as hard as we are because we have a couple of fantastic matchups to end the night. The first one being Deer versus Dark. Deer on a roll recently in 2015, and Dark returning to his former glory up towards the top here at SSL as well.
Also in 2017 as well. That's the place he's rocking in the free world. Against Dark here, you can see they haven't actually faced off very many times. In fact, the last time they did face off was in SSL Season 1. Since then, they haven't gotten a chance to play each other. But Dark has just beaten a couple of very strong Protoss lately. He took out Classic earlier on. Then he also was able to beat Hero 3-2 in Masters Coliseum a couple of days ago. So really impressive showings. And you can see, even though Dark is the fan favorite in our Facebook poll, he actually may struggle a little bit with Deer, who's really up and coming.
This is going to be a close one, I would expect. The matches, or rather the maps, as you guys saw, Abyssal Reef, Odyssey, and Ascension to Ire. So stuff that we're used to nowadays, these two-player maps that are very large. And let's go ahead and look at Deer and see what he's done so far. He's taken only one loss, and that has been, or rather 2 losses. My bad. 1 to Classic, which was 0-2, and then 1 to Solar, close matchup there. Did go to game number 3. That was the series, I believe, where he went for the Dark Shrine in the main of Solar on Newkirk Precinct.
Let's all give him a clap. Like, you did the down and dirty strat. But when it comes to playing against Dark, I feel like Dark does not lose to those. He stays late, safe, and takes it to that high tech, and he's so good against Protoss specifically with that strategy.
Yeah, this is part of the reason why I just really love his play style. It's always really fun for me to get to watch Dark games, especially late game ZBT, but gonna get to see if he can do well against Protoss this time. You see, he actually gave Hero 1 of 2 of the wins that Hero has gotten so far, which is not so many. So it's interesting. You can see he also lost to Stats, but ended up winning against Classic. Really has to make you wonder where he is in terms of consistency against Protosses.
You kind of have to wonder about that. I feel like Dark, though, has really stepped it up very as of late. Deer, also a guy you can't just vote for based on his name or how familiar you are with him. You really do have to take his current form into account. So let's go ahead and get into our first game of this series. Abyssal Reef is the map. Dark and Deer are our 2D players in a 3D world.
There you go. It makes sense. They finally met here in Week 8 of SSL Premier Season 2. Let's see who will take game number 1. Fly Better Fly,
Gen L. There we go.
Number 1, starting off with a bang. Here we go down to the bottom right. It is Deer.
Not as much of a bang as game number 1 of our last series. 25 Widowmine kills. No Widowmines here. It's just a Zerg player in the purple, the upper left, named Dark.
So these guys were going at it in the chat. I was talking with you. We were having a chat, me and Reed, but I saw a couple of things that they said. Deer saying that Dark really focuses on psychological warfare before the game starts. So Dark, known to be one of these cockier players, one of these very confident. Trash talker. Yeah, he loves his trash talk, and he loves his psychological warfare. So Deer isn't wrong, but the response from Dark was pretty funny. He said the reason that he does it is because his race is not good. So
okay.
A little bit of balanced wine in the mix.
All right, Dark. You're kind of crushing it with your race. And I think he's found a very strong style. I actually am very impressed with the way that he does take this to late game so consistently and pick up good results with it. I actually think a lot of Zerg players recently will kind of trend towards that style in this matchup specifically. Now, one way that we've seen Protoss players deal with this lately is this 3-base, 3-gate Oracle, or a 3 Stargate Oracle build. That's it's not as popular anymore since players like Rogue, I think, were kind of on the forefront of figuring out how to deal with that with Mass Queens and Investors. So it looks like a lot of Protoss have transitioned, and if they do want to go for large Stargate counts, they'll go for like lots of Phoenixes and really continue that on into the same insane numbers to get lots of value if you don't react accordingly. But Dark should be airtight against that kind of strat. Just take it to late game with a defensive style.
How do you think the infested Terrans, the new ones, are going to do against this strategy?
New infested Terrans are great, especially when you use them defensively, because they spawn almost instantly when they are dropped on creep. Their anti-air attack is just so good now, so I would expect to see
it's like 14 damage or something ridiculous.
It's insane. Yeah, it's better than Spore Crawlers, that's for sure. So I would expect to see Infestors be a big part of most Zerg mid-game armies. As opposed to what we see now, where they're not quite as useful.
Very niche.
Yes, niche.
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 That's a different
love that
person.
guy too, but yeah. I'm on the niche train. Third base rather, on the way up here for Dark. If you look at the way that the strat's piling up here for Deer, a couple of Adepts just now finishing, more on the way with a Stargate, just finishing for that Oracle. Nothing too surprising, but what is interesting is that Dark is going to be playing this very defensive. So if you're out there taking notes, this is the way that you do it with remarkable consistency and success versus Protoss.
Yeah. I wanted to make one other point about the format, the season that we have going on here. With Stats' loss and Classics win, we already have 2 players at 6-2. After tonight, after this series specifically, we will have 3 players tied at 6-2 up at the top. So this in week 8, this is just getting incredibly close, and really anyone can take first, second, third, fourth. I mean, it's really going to come down to the wire, down to the last and final day next week.
Anything could change, and yeah, make sure to tune in next week. I don't know if we'll have quite tiebreakers, but it should be an absolutely great way to finish off the season of SSL Premier. So, first Oracle out and on the map, and the Spore not done yet. These Queens can only kill it so quickly. It's a lot of damage from the Adepts earlier. Now the Oracles, some uncharacteristic losses being taken here for Dark.
Yeah, overall a nice big chunk here for Deer, and you can see that Dark actually made a bunch of lings that are hanging around this third base, and with the second Oracle that can go over there and just defend, Deer should be able to get up that third base, although there is this fight going on. Does pick off that probe.
I really like this by Deer to say, okay, one of my Oracles for offense, one for defense. We got a chance to watch Bjol earlier. He was very popular with his counterattack style. It's not what we see Dark going for here, and even if he was, it would have been scouted by that Oracle. So this will allow the third base to come up for Deer. Dark behind this should be looking for maybe a fourth. He wants to play that heavy defensive macro style, but he's actually been a little bit sloppy with it earlier, losing quite a few drones.
Hey, lost a bunch of drones, not only to the Adepts, but also to the Oracles, and the Spores were late. He committed a bunch of Spores even after the Oracles got damaged, which is never what you want to see. He was definitely down on drones for quite a while, made those extra lings too to try to harass, and they haven't really done all that much as they just come in here. That's
a great scout for the Zerglings. Not only is he going to see, hey, there's a third base, no surprise there, but the 4 gateways in that wall, this is a big transition, well, not transition, but it's a big boost for Deer. Dark now knows, hey, this is the level of my opponent's productions, this is what I have to go up against, and maybe this will say, hey, take a later 4th base because you've got a lot to defend against coming up.
Yeah, we'll see what kind of tech he wants to go in here for the defense. He is going to get that lair at about 6 minutes in after getting 58 drones in total. Took him a while, but he finally did it.
Oh, wow, committing the Oracle just to take out the Queen and barely saving it at the end.
Look at how much that first Oracle has. Let me actually click it and see how much health. It has 4 health.
Yeah, 8 kills on that other Oracle, too, that dove in and sniped off that Queen. But, oh, wow, this is actually going to be High Templars morphed into 2 Archons. A lot of times you'll see this with DTs, but going to get the more economical ones up there. warped in, and this is
not.
Yeah, this is going to be a cancel on the fourth base. Needs to cancel that there. Gets the cancel off. But like I said, yeah, the Dark, this is not the time to take that. Running Banelings into Archons. Whoa, that is a lot committed for not a lot of value. Still, the Archons being controlled.
The sickest micro. What the hell, man?
I've never seen. Wow, it's been a while. Great control by Deer. He's able to just micro his Archons into infinity and beyond. And that's about the level of value they're getting here. GG Deer crushes Dark. Oh my God.
That did not look like Deer versus Dark. I mean, that looked like Deer versus not Dark. Like, that was just, you were saying it in the beginning, that looked like an off game for Dark. The beginning was not solid, and the timing of Deer to totally shut the door. Yeah. Dark was like, please let me come back. He's like, no.
No, he just slams it in his face. Yeah, there's the only thing Dark is because the light at the end of the tunnel is kind of closing here. Wow.
Shut the door right in his face.
I haven't seen like an instant GG to that, aside from maybe like not having detection against Dark Templar.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just, wow, what a crush there at the end. Deer, make me have a little bit of a crush on him. Sick play. Oh my God, Deer, or Dark rather, really just never got a chance to get to the late game he wanted to.
Deer's been impressing. You know, we've said in the past his inconsistency has been a bit of a problem, but he's not inconsistent this time around. He came from Challenge, beat both Hero and Byun, made his way into the fast lane, got into Premier. He's now 5-2, looking for his 6th win, and he is on a huge roll right now. Man, the timing of that drop, too, for the follow-up. He came in right as the 4th base was started, and then he was like, I know you only have Lings and Banes.
Yeah.
I'll just micro my Archons. He picked up the Zealots as the Banelings came in, let them roll into the Archons. Then he dropped the Zealots out against the Lings, picked up the Archons right as they were about to die, and put them behind the Zealots. It was literally perfect.
Yeah,
it was like, he couldn't have done it better.
Insane control there.
Yeah.
I haven't seen quite that same push before, but it worked especially well because he had set Dark just a little bit, you know, like a couple of steps behind. He was making all those spore crawlers when really the Oracles had already got pushed back, and then came back in and crushed him down, and that was all she wrote for game number 1. But it is best of 3 series, so game 2 is on the way. This will be on the map Odyssey.
Yeah, we'll see if Dark can have a bit of an Odyssey himself and have some better luck here on game number 2. No chatting this time around. Totally silent in the booth for both of these guys. Deer not even daring to say a word. He must know that Dark is a bit angry. But guys, let's see if Dark can make his comeback, or will Deer close this one out 2-0. Game number 2 on Odyssey begins now. Down in the bottom right, it is Deer, the yellow Protoss.
There he is, Baekdong Jun, looking good in game number 1. His opponent in the purple as our Zerg player. This is Dark, Park Young-woo.
Well, that early game was a disaster for Dark, so I feel like coming into game number 2, definitely the main objective is don't lose 6 or 8 drones early on to minimal harass, and just try to get your feet underneath you first, and then get into your macro style.
Yeah, you talk about that macro style. I thought that's how Dark was going to play it, but just uncharacteristically unable to prevent the early losses. Even you could see start trying to take that 4th base right when that crushing push is coming in from Deer. Beautiful timing. And confusing also, Dark saw the 4 gateways being built as part of the wall for the 3rd base, so he knew there's about to be a big swell. Maybe you could predict the Warp Prism there, but Dark a couple steps behind. Gateway expand here for Deer, so nothing out of the ordinary. Should see the wall being built as part of that cybernetics core, and yeah, nothing to Not surprising. Might want to see a third base coming up for Dark if he wants to play an early eco game, but especially here on Odyssey, it's a little bit more difficult until you break down the rocks.
He's sending out that drone you were talking about.
Yeah, he's going to go for it. Okay.
Yeah, here it comes. Third base very quickly, right as that pool finishes up.
The reason I say that third base is a little bit scary is that a couple of times lately, especially in a couple of the online tournaments I've been casting, Protoss will push off, use a sentry to block off that narrow passageway, and all of a sudden your third base is totally isolated. Unless you're out on the map already as Zerg, which you kind of don't want to be, that's a big vulnerability that can be exploited. Twilight
Council is made in the main, and after you go DTs, with the Dark Shrine literally in your opponent's base, you always have to be curious as to what is going to be the follow-up for Deer after making that building.
Overlord will see the Adept Shade coming out. I don't think this is going to send any alarm bells, but especially after you play Deer or watch Deer versus Solar and see that DT strat, like you really just have to cross all your T's, dot all your I's and J's, and use if you're German.
Can't O's be dotted as well?
They can indeed, and if you're Finnish, you just dot everything.
What a world they live in, man. They just get to dot everything.
Yeah.
Why couldn't we be as cool as them?
we don't have a whole lot of dots for our letters.
It's true.
Also, our dots are not situational. They're just always there.
Yeah. You don't get to choose, really. It's not a very free language. But that Adept being annoying, this Ling getting crucial information early on. Not able to get into the main, though, as the Overlords have been totally shut out. There's no Overlord speed, so Dark definitely lacking on scouting this game.
You know, a lot of times we see Zerg, Gumiho likes to do this, where he gets Overlord speed and drop and goes for just like crazy amounts of aggression that way. But or not Gumiho.
I was gonna say like,
Leenock. There we go. Yeah. My bad. Okay, yeah, no scouting here for our Zerg player other than just saying, hey, there's no third at that location. I don't think he scouted the other third in front, but should probably know that's not the way to go. Glaive's about to finish here with about a bunch of Adepts out on the map, so this should be a decent amount of early pressure. Where are the Zerglings? 10 on the way. See how well Dark adjusts to this.
Dark definitely taking this very seriously. He knows
20 more.
Yeah, no third base and nothing like that. He wants to shut it down hard and then have a go at the third base of Deer, I think. This isn't just, okay, defend, and then maybe make some drones. This is like, okay, I'm going to swarm you to death. And, well, Deer just backs off, so actually a nice read by him.
This is exactly picture perfect what you want as a Protoss player. You build a few units, you send them out, and you force this massive non-drone reaction from your Zerg opponent.
Dark made 7 Overlords. You're not supposed to do that.
Okay, the only thing I can think of is you make a bunch of Overlords, you get speed, and then you drop with them. But he doesn't have Overlord speed or Overlord drop, so I'm like, let's see what his supply is going to be out of here as soon as they all hatch. He has 76 out of 122. We'll see if he ever gets a chance to make that many units. He did have that big swell of Lings, and now he has more Lings and Banelings coming out. I mean, if I didn't note more correctly, this would look like an all-in. There's the force field. The Adepts can shade through it. Zerglings can also go through it because it's not perfectly positioned. So might want to do-over on that force field placement.
Yeah, that's that redo you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Always wish you could have some redos in life. Everybody does.
They added rewind to the games. You just can only activate it at the end of the game. I kind of wish they'd make it so I could activate that a little bit earlier.
That would be a weird game mechanic. Maybe someday.
Timecraft.
Yeah.
Imagine if you had like, you know, you have games like Max Payne or Fear, where first-person shooters where you can dilate time and use that to your advantage. Imagine playing StarCraft like that, where it was like another resource that you could have. But here, finally, we see all the Zerglings coming to bear. There's no Banelings accompanying them, so probably don't want to go in against that many sentries either.
Yeah.
Pressure on the third base, exactly like you said, Valdez.
This is just the awkward time for the Zerg where it's like, I made all these units,
What do I
thought
do?
you were going to attack me. Why didn't you attack me? Can I attack you? No, I can't attack you. You have the perfect defensive setup and 3 bases and all the tech you'd ever want. What do? I guess I'll take a 4th.
4th and a macro hatch at the same time with 12 drones in production at one time briefly. So Dark is definitely going to try to come out of that. Okay, well, that's a little awkward number of Zerglings early. At least he'll be safe, and he's trying to force fields out. Sounds odd to say, but he's not going to be successful in that regard either.
He's going Hydras. Not a lot of Banelings were made earlier on. He still only has 8. And now he's going to be going up against Storm, all of those extra gateways coming through.
Yeah, 5 additional gates. I want to say that's 1, 2, 3, 4, it's almost 9 gates up already. Archon's coming out as well. If he wants to morph those High Templar early. He does have this Warp Prism of Adepts coming into the 3rd, or 4th rather.
Good timing.
Yeah.
Can just plop them down in the gold. There's only 1 queen here, a bunch of Hydras though.
Save the drones! This is not an AGDQ donation goal. You always just want to save the drones.
Yeah. I like these little kind of plays. Protoss is, when they're really good with adept control, or just like adept little moves like that, it can get extremely annoying for any race.
Now this is cute, forcing an immediate cancel on that 4th at the gold.
It's actually really big. You know, he's finally making some use of those lings, and delaying that 4th for as much time as possible will be very important.
Well, I'm still a little bit worried, Valdez. Deer had a super sick, smart timing in game number 1, able to get in there, cancel the 4th base, and pick up the win immediately after that. Now, Dark has had the opportunity to secure his 4th base, and even a 5th base. Now on the way, Dark really confident. Hive also started. Dark's
Spire.
going for it. Yep.
Yeah. Wants those Broodlords as soon as possible. Definitely lets you escape the Archon Storm Immortal plus Force Field death game that some Zergs have to deal with in the mid to late game. So trying to get that tech out, as this has been a relatively passive game outside of some, aggressive move outs by Deer, but he never fully committed. So we've just been sitting back from there.
Pretty strong wall. Okay, this is cute. A little bit of harassment done to the Baneling cocoons. All right, does need to be careful with that Warp Prism. Hydras walk up on it. No, getting taken out. Wow, great pickoff by Dark.
Yeah, that's pretty nice. Allows him to safely keep his 5th base for now. We see another Warp Prism on the way, as it is very important. But he's buying a lot of time. He's had his side of the map for an extremely long time, as Deer never fully committed, as I said before. Will we see this Greater Spire right away? Yes.
Immediately, those tendrils reaching out, taking it down, and it is on the way. Now, one thing that Dark has done is gone up to 80 drones. And when you're on your side of the map safe and sound for a while, then yeah, that's great. You can just mine out of control, get this huge resource bank that you see. But if you get pressured at that point, then a lot of your supply is just in workers, and it's going to be difficult to hang on. But he really hasn't been pressured very much at this point.
Banelings in position to deal with those Zealots.
Downside of Zealot charge, they just get right up on those Banelings.
Yeah. And now Deer's in an awkward spot. Here we go. The Storm's coming down. Nice force fields to block off that left side. Needs more Storms. Nice splits here from Dark.
Oh my god, endless amounts of Storm. These Immortals not usually great at retreating, but when there's Storms at the same time, it's going to make it a pretty decent trade for Deer.
That was sick. This guy is really on fire nowadays. I mean, Deer, he was microing his Archons and Immortals to fire while separately microing, whoa, that was kind of crazy, separately microing his High Templars. And we were talking about how Dark was given so much space, but Deer also had something like 9 to 10 High Templars with full Storm. And the Archon wall comes in, and we still have 7 more High Templar with full energy. What is he going to do?
There's nothing you can do against that many Storms. The Zealots and the Archons. Look at that Archon wall. Beautiful positioning here by Deer, even in the back as the Zerglings try to come. He's okay storming his own units because he just needs to wipe out everything Dark has. Look at the army supply starting to plummet. Deer with such a great composition and endless storms.
He needs another warp in though. He's got to be careful about pushing this far with the storms. Stuff is going to pop out here for Dark. It doesn't look like it's enough. It's only Hydras on the backside.
Now, finally the storms are starting to run out, and with the Hydras being produced from the fourth base wrapping around, Deer's push will be eliminated, but at what cost, right? There's 17 drones killed, the fourth base at the gold devastated, and all of this tech, all this safety, all these bases, 5 up for Deer behind this.
I was getting a bit crazy. I thought maybe Dark was just going to fall out of that one, but he actually wins the fight in the end. He can take those drone losses. He can remax on those if he wants, but now he has all the time in the world to put on pressure of his own, get the Broodlords of his own, keep Deer super defensive here.
Deer put on a lot of pressure, but did lose a lot at that, or with that attack. Damage being done nonetheless, and he's going to still try going back right into it. They warp into charge lots down by the 5th.
Going right back to work are the Zealots here.
Okay, sending some up to the gold, some down to the 5th. That's a lot of damage, but that's where there used to be probes, but now are not, Valdez.
The mystery of the disappearing probes. Nothing really to deal with these Zealots. He's buying him so much time. He's targeting down even that hatchery, keeps it alive. Now the gold base of Dark has some disappearing drones of their own.
Absolutely, 16 more workers taken out. And yeah, granted, he was at a high drone count before, so it's not incredibly insane, but whoa,
he's gonna get it
off. Not enough in time to save it. Wow, big elimination there. Deer taking out the 5th base and defending his own.
He's super cool to expend all of those Zealots. He's like, yeah, I have 5 bases right now. I can make infinity Zealots if I want to. He might even think about taking another base here soon. He has those Tempests on the way. He knows the transition here for Dark. We have 4 Broodlords on the map already.
I love that. It's just so smart. The heads-up play by Deer saying, wonder where this guy is going to expand next. And he does that thinking emoji face and just warps in 2 Zealots to cancel the 5th.
Yeah. His understanding of the game and reading his opponent has just been so on point. And I think it comes out of all of that practice that he's rumored to have been doing for quite a long time now.
Yeah, especially for Dark here, at late game player, when you want to take it late against a player who's ahead of you as you progress through the game, like, it's just not going to be a great strat. Deer just on top of absolutely everything. He's working towards a late game God composition. Tempests, Archons, both being completed. He's also on great upgrades. In fact, check and see what the upgrades are for both of our players. Looks like +3 weapons already done for Protoss, +1 shields as well. And it's against +3 ground weapons completed for Zerg, but only +1 air and Carapace.
Yeah, the melee going to be really good for the Zerglings. Oh, he just decided to warp in a bunch of Zealots to stop that, as this push is going to be extremely important. No answer for the Tempests in the sky that are just shelling those Broodlords, pushing them way back.
Tempest, great at poking, but their DPS is not that great. On the other side, though, consistent map awareness. I don't even think he's going to cancel that. That might even just be a kill on the other side. No additional bases for you, Dark. Deer brings his army to bear.
Oh, man. This guy is so on point. It's awesome to watch this kind of play. Dark is going to try to fight back with a counterattack, but Deer even keeping some of his High Templar in the Warp Prism earlier on just to make sure they don't get sniped. Here we go.
Wow, Dark just taking so many storms. Nowhere to hide, nowhere to run. GG. Deer owning it up. This is the alternate ending to Bambi, guys. Revenge taken on Dark. What a 6 series.
Oh, man, that was pretty one-sided. I mean, it looked like it was even in game number 2, but I think that was just Deer getting Dark extremely defensive, making so many of these units, and then saying, oh, you played right into my plan. Here come 9 High Templar with full energy. Oh. What do you have for this? that was a treat to watch.
Excuse me. Yeah, the biggest thing I saw there, so Immortals, right? They're not great at retreating. But as they pulled back, they're pretty slow. So as a Zerg, you're like, okay, I can pick off these bonus Immortals. It's just what happens every time a Protoss army tries to run away. But that kind of baited Dark into chasing that into Infinity Storms. So much damage done. And let's not forget about game number 1 with that razor-sharp timing. Deer just absolutely destroying a player that we really hyped up. Dark's great late game, great ZVP, but Deer just played his game and owned him every second of the way.
Yeah, he looked like pretty much any Zerg that faces off against him is going to have some really hard times, whereas Dark, I mean, maybe those comments he made about his race early on were actually telling of how he feels about the matchup. I mean, he's known to be pretty good in ZVP, but tonight he didn't really stand up to the test of Deer's play, so that's a big win for Deer. With that, he goes up to 6-2. He's tied with the other. He's not Clyde. That guy's gone for quite a while.
Gone forever.
But yeah, he's tied up there with the other 2 Protosses. We have 3 of our 4 Protosses in places 1, 2, and 3.
Then Innovation right below it. Will we get a chance to see him play versus Solar coming up?